A lot of these lists get made by someone who's 24 and still right in the middle of their 20s. I'm 31. My 20s are done, and so are most of the people I came up with. Some of these people are really thriving now and doing well for themselves. But then I'm also seeing people that are really paying for their actions in their 20s. I don't want to waste any more of your time with the intro, so I think we get straight into the list. And the first one I want to put on the list is alcohol and drugs, and that goes straight into the regret at 35 tier. The worst decisions you're ever gonna make in your life that you think are brilliant are when you're under the influence of either alcohol and or drugs. I used to be a party boy in my early 20s. I went out every weekend. I loved parties. I really engaged a lot in the party community. And it's something you can kind of get away with in your early 20s. But honestly, when I look back, I was like zombified quite a lot of the time. I had a lot of anxiety that came from relying on alcohol to have liquid courage and talk to people, especially girls. And there's been nights where I've been, essentially up all night, even partied out until the morning, and the next day is just completely gone. And my mind was foggy for days after that, and that was even in my early 20s. So even though, yes, I did get some girls at parties, I did have fun, I did improve my social skills quite a bit, I really overdid it with the alcohol, in my personal opinion. I didn't need to do that. And today, if I go to a party, I will drink maybe a glass or two, but not more than that. Sometimes I decide not even to drink at all. It's quite a cheat code that I oftentimes just bring my motorcycle to a party because I, of course, want to ride safely home. And this is also these times where some people, they hook up and they don't think about the consequences and they might end up getting pregnant. So you might just end up making decisions here where you can really easily pull yourself out of that situation, pun intended. The next one I have on the list is chasing women / validation. And I think this one goes into cost years, because this is something I spent a lot of time on myself. I was not very socially confident and good with girls until I worked on it as a skill, and I did that a lot of time, and I wasted a bunch of time here because I got a lot into the pickup community when I was in my early 20s, tried to learn techniques and learn all this stuff, and honestly, a lot of it really didn't work, and it was actually more harmful than helpful. Because I got some tools that helped me push myself into approaching people, into talking to more people. But the thing is, I was so obsessed with it that I had like some friends where we would go out during the daytime and try to approach people. I also went to a lot of parties, like I mentioned. But it really turned into such an obsession. I wanted to game the system, so I got really good at using dating apps and getting on dates and hooking up with chicks. I realized at the end it was not really for the chicks, it was honestly just for self-validation, because I didn't really love myself and I didn't feel that good about myself, so getting a bunch of girls made me feel like I was good enough. But when I really dug into the internal stuff, it was really just not me feeling good enough. And if you're not self-aware enough, you can really end up spending a bunch of years with only a couple of funny stories. I will say I don't regret that I did all of this because it has taken me to where I am now. I think this is just generally something, a life philosophy I like to follow, that I don't regret my life, but there are decisions that have been questionable in my life. Let me just tell it to you like that, bro. If I could go back, I would probably have done things a little differently here. The next one I have on the list is choosing a degree you don't want. And I want to put this into cost tiers as well, because choosing a degree you don't want, you're most likely still going to learn something. I have a master's degree in chemistry, and I'm not really working with chemistry today, and it really made me question a lot. I was never really sure myself on what to study. I was pretty good at the sciences when I was in high school, so I just decided that chemistry would give me the most opportunities and is mostly aligned with what I liked at the time. So I just went straight up with chemistry. I didn't take a gap year, didn't really think much about it. And the actual study of chemistry, that was pretty fun. But I think the reason I felt that way was also I was in an environment with people that were studying the same thing as me, living the university life. I was becoming more social. I was developing myself into the person I am. So it kind of overshadowed the fact that I wasn't really sure what I really wanted to do with my life and if this was the right thing to study. I did have moments, like a lot of nights, where I was questioning, should I have studied something in business, psychology, or music? Like, those were the main pillars that I thought about. But then again, I was thinking, if I go into this field, will I just have the same feeling as I have now? So I went for the master's. My professor actually asked me if he should put away like $500,000 in order to fund my PhD, which was crazy to me. I was pretty good at chemistry. Like I got the top marks for my thesis that I wrote, but I knew I was kind of misaligned there. Like I am too much of a multi-passionate, so I decided to get out of there, try to get a job, and build a business on the side, because it was always a goal of mine to have something on the side, like a side project that's more creative. If you don't know, I've been playing music for years. I have a photography business as well, so I've basically been doing a lot of shit aside from just doing chemistry. And this degree actually cost me a lot of time just contemplating, should I do something else, like spending a bunch of time. Honestly, if I just had a degree that would allow me to put all of that skill into one business model that I could grow, it would probably serve me better. But then again, I was, 18, 19 when I started that degree. Most of the people I've spoken to, they didn't really know what they truly wanted to do at age 18. Some people do. They're like, my dream is to become a doctor. My girlfriend is like that. She's been knowing that since she was age 10. But for a lot of people, with the amount of choices today, they don't really know. But this is the decision that will cost you a lot of years if you start going in a completely different direction than what you truly desire. So be very cautious of this one. For the next one, we have the doomer mentality / black pill, and this one, it will either slow you down, cost you years, or bring regret at 35. It depends a lot on how much you're in it. I will also put this one in the cost years category, because I've never really been a doomer myself. I've never gotten into the red or the black pill. I've been into the red pill. You could say I'm still kind of into the red pill, but also a little blue pilled. I'm probably none of those pills, honestly, because I don't really resonate like directly with one pill. But my point with this one, with the doomer mindset, is some people, they find comfort in the fact that they can call the world broken, that the dating market is broken, that basically everything in this world is broken, and they are just in a position where they can bond with a bunch of losers talking about how everything's bad and that the world is screwed and all this kind of stuff. That doesn't help you. If you stay here for too long, then it's gonna be regret at 35. But honestly, like, I think some people, they will be in this stage for a year, 2 years, maybe a little longer. At some point, they will realize, damn, there's actually stuff you can do. I remember a couple of years ago, I was following like a bunch of the, what you would probably describe as the manosphere red pill YouTuber. One of them spoke to a guy called Wheat Waffles, who was definitely black pill back then. I don't know what he is today, but I remember during that interview, he actually started to realize that being like chronically black pilled is not helpful when you can actually easily change a bunch of things in your life. So if you have this mentality, try to get out of it as soon as possible. It isn't helping. There's a lot more helpful messages online and like ideologies, if you want to call them that, to follow. So yeah, this one will potentially cost you years. For the next one, I have doomscrolling, which I will say this one is something we basically all do at some stages in our life. Some people do it for hours every day. Some people do it a little less. I do it a little less, but I still get caught in the loop sometimes. I want to say this one slows you down. Technically, over a long period of time, yes, it will cost you years. But I will say, like, if you doom scroll a little bit every night, it's gonna slow you down, definitely. But I don't think it's gonna cost you literally years. I think the others here are worse here. And I'm pretty sure you know what doom scrolling is. You know what it does to you. But I want to share a couple insights that I've came across when I've been doom scrolling the comment sections of random YouTube videos. One of them is that if you doom scroll for 2 hours a day, then literally every single year you spend a full month just staring down at your phone. Just think about that for a second. That's pretty crazy, right? And think about if you also doom scroll for, let's just say, 1 hour a day. You could literally spend that 1 hour just making YouTube videos and potentially grow a personal brand that's gonna replace your job in the future. I just want to say that to you, that this is your own choice that you're making. I know it's difficult with the corporations and everything. I personally decide to just take responsibility. If I have been doom scrolling for an hour, I accept the fact that this was maybe not the smartest choice, and then tomorrow I'll do it better, or I'll do it better later today. There's no reason to blame any of the developers or big corporations for making these addictive apps and all this kind of stuff. Really think about the time you spend on your phone, because it really is that damn phone. The next one I have is ignoring your health. And wow, this one is going straight up into regret at 35. Now that I'm 31, you start to see the divide. I would say even at 25, you start to see a couple of signs that people are declining physically. I have a bunch of different friends now the vast majority, like 99%, I want to say 99, but I don't have 100 friends, lol. Let's say 90% of the people I know, they are in worse shape now than they were at 25 and at 22. I'm the opposite. Like, my shape keeps going up, but I also prioritize it. I literally do some kind of exercise or movement every day of the week. Sunday is like the day where I don't have it on my checklist, but I have a checklist where I check off exercise slash movement every day, Monday to Saturday. And this is the reason I'm in better shape now, because I get better at exercising over time. But I have some people that are both like close to me and peripheral people in my life where I'm just seeing like, wow, you are letting yourself go right now. And I know there can be other priorities in life, but the thing is, at some point, you might get hit by diabetes, or you might get sick more often. You might not have the energy. So I think this is something you should absolutely prioritize, especially if you're younger. Like, if you're 20 now, you have such a big advantage to start building the habits now, so it's way easier to maintain when you're a bit older. I'm happy. I'm really happy that I did all of these health habits very early on. Like, not obsessively, but just making sure that I can now basically prioritize my health on autopilot. It doesn't take me a lot of energy because I've spent so many years building these habits. And if you don't, I've tried dragging people to the gym that I care about in my life. It's such a big battle for them to actually get into the habit, stick to the habit. And I'm begging you, please, 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 please take your health seriously. Even if you are in your early 20s, you don't have to health max, but just do the bare minimum of go to the gym 2 times a week. If you then start to like it, you can go 3, 4, 5, 6 times if you want. And think about what you put into your body. Watch your body weight. Weigh yourself fairly often, like at least once a week. And if you see the trend is I'm becoming a fat mofo, then please dial it down. Just make sure to get that in check, because when you don't have your health, you have nothing else. So this will definitely give you a regret at 35 if you're suddenly 140 kg and you get zero attention from anyone. The next one I have on the list is lifestyle inflation. And I want to say this one, it does matter definitely. I'd say it slows you down, because as you start to make more money and progress in life, you have more opportunities. You can technically buy more expensive stuff, but if you do, you're essentially staying at the same level financially in terms of the freedom level you have. I've always been very frugal, and even now that I'm 31, we live in a fairly small apartment. I think it's definitely smaller than average if you compare myself to other people my age. Like, a lot of people, they live in bigger apartments. Some are even buying houses, but they are taking out these big loans where they are literally now living paycheck to paycheck every month. And sure, you could say, is that not a better financial decision to live like that? If you have to live paycheck to paycheck, month to month, that's gonna give you a lot of stress added on to this house that you now have to take care of yourself. So I think there's definitely caveats to it. There might be a long-term gain if you stick in it for long enough. I just think you have to be careful here, and this was just one example. For most people, what lifestyle inflation might look like is you start eating at better restaurants, you start buying more expensive clothes, you might actually buy a more expensive car instead of the beater car you have from the early 2000s. And these things, they add up really quickly. And if you don't have a budget and you don't watch where your money goes, then suddenly you might find yourself at the end of the month having spent way more than what you actually should have. For the next one, this is also a money related one. It's never investing. And I want to say this one will go into cost years, because this one is kind of twofold. When I say investing, it's in stocks, but it's also in yourself. And a lot of people, they will wait till they have enough money to invest in both courses, mentors, the stock market. I think this is a big mistake. A little goes a long way here in terms of building the habit of investing into the stock market, and in terms of actually coaching and like finding a mentor. If they have a cheap tier and you feel like this is the person that could help me a lot to progress in life. Let's say they have a community that's $50 a month. If you think that's exactly what you need and you've been watching this creator for a year and you're like, this is a complete no-brainer. Just pay the 50, get the support from them, or get the community if that's what you think you need. Even though you might not have a ton of money, that will accelerate your ability to make money and progress in life. So it'll basically come back to you if you decide to make that investment. Since people tend to hold off on that for a long time, they might end up being in their late 20s and they finally start investing, but then they might be behind both, like in terms of the stock market and in terms of having built up significant amount of skills in different areas of life because they were stubborn about figuring things out themselves, being afraid of investing into the stock market. I believe I was 25 when I started investing, so I'd actually say this was fairly late. That money could have worked for me way earlier. I will say though, before that, I started investing in mentors and courses very early on, like when I was 18, 19, around that. And that helped me so much in terms of my social life and dating life back then. And then I got additional skills later on that I've invested into small courses for. So this is such a big game changer. And yeah, by the way, shameless plug, I do have a link to book a call with me if you want some clarity on some of the stuff we've been talking about in this video. Go down to the description, book a call if you're interested, and let's get on with the tier list. The next one I have is no direction at all. And I want to put this into cost you years as well. If you sit here for too long, spinning your wheels, not really knowing what you want to do, you're just gonna be wasting a bunch of years. One of the quick ways to progress in this is run monthly or quarterly experiments where you really dive into a topic, you really try to figure out, is this something that really interests me? I didn't know that when I picked my chemistry major back in the day, but this is something I started practicing after I graduated, which is kind of backwards, honestly. If I knew this, I would have started doing this as soon as possible. Experiment a bunch, figure out what you really enjoy, and that's what led me to also move here to Copenhagen and go all in on my photography business for a little while. Like, I was making pretty solid 4 figures a month. Like, I don't remember exactly how much, but like probably 5K a month for 4 months or so. And then I kind of realized that if I keep doing this, I'm gonna lose my passion for portrait photography. At least it's going to be a lot less. So I just say, just go ahead and experiment a lot to figure out what kind of direction you want to go. If you stay here for too long, it gets really dangerous. And I know it's also difficult if you try to build stuff yourself, but don't let that stop you. I've been doing this YouTube stuff for multiple times. This channel has been live for like soon 2 years when we hit the end of the year. And I've been building or trying to build multiple YouTube channels before, realized it's something that I really liked. And even if it's been slow for me, I've realized that this is one direction that I really want to commit to and do long term. And then for me, I realized that if you're stuck here, go ahead and run a bunch of experiments. Try to speed run this part so it doesn't cost you years. So for the next one, we have lust. And I'm gonna put this actually all the way at regret at 35. This is a problem. We have so much easy access to adult content. It's something that's still getting downplayed massively in our society, but this is another drug in itself. Notice that I have essentially like the 3 things that we have on top of the list here is we have one drug, which is literally drugs, and alcohol, which is also kind of a drug. We have being unhealthy, that's also a drug. Like food is a drug for many people. And then we have adult content, which is also what I define as a drug. It is gonna mess up your brain. This is one that I have struggled with on and off for a long time, and I regret the fact that it's been taking up so much space in my life over the years. Because honestly, it is like the least productive way you can spend your time. If you're single and lonely, it might be a quick way, an easy way to escape yourself. The problem is when you do this, you tend to disconnect from the desire of actually finding a mate, which could relieve you of this habit. At the same time, though, you fry your dopamine receptors. Other things in your life will feel less pleasurable. When you go outside, you're probably gonna feel like you've turned into a bit of a goblin. I know when I succumb to this bad habit, I have a harder time looking people in the eyes. I can literally feel that I'm more disconnected from the world. So this is like a very quick way to speedrun regretting your whole life. So please, I hope you take this seriously. This is not a no-fab YouTube channel, so I'm not going to give you any specific advice on how to do this. I think there are people that will do this better than me. I rarely fall into this habit anymore, but I also have a partner, and I have also dated a lot in the past, so I think there are people that can relate better to you with this topic. I'd recommend you that you go into subreddits and find YouTubers that can help you out more than I can with this thing. Now, for the next one, we have people-pleasing, and I'm going to put this into... I almost want to put it into barely matters, but I do think it matters. I do think it slows you down, because if you're a chronic people pleaser, and I've known a couple in my life, I have also to a certain extent been a people pleaser, but not really that much. I will say when you do it a lot, it slows you down significantly because you never really respect yourself and do the things you want. So if you're always following everybody else's scripts and you try to adapt to what you think they like, you're number one, not gonna do things you like. And number two, you're gonna be like a copy of what you think people like, and you're most likely gonna lose yourself. So I'm gonna keep this fairly short, that if you know you're a people pleaser, there are a couple of books you can read on the topic. I was reading a book called Not Nice, which was quite helpful, but the best thing you can do is just try to catch it in the act when it comes up and try to state your own opinions a lot more. And then also allow yourself to get rejected occasionally. If you really want to speedrun this, go out and ask 20 women on the street, do you want to go on a date with me? So I did this in my early 20s to just try to fight this fear of rejection. It was not pretty, but it did make a big difference to my ability to accept rejection. For the next one, we have social media comparison. And this one, I want to put it somewhere between here. I'm gonna put it at slows you down, because I think if you spend too much time doom scrolling, you're just looking at all these people on Instagram that you admire. Your self-worth and self-esteem is gonna fall quite a bit. It's literally gonna make your life worse, because you're gonna be a bit sad that you don't have their life, that you want their life, but you know that their life is literally like, it's not just going from A to B for you, it's like going from A to C. Either it's gonna be impossible, or it's going to be very difficult and time consuming to get there. If you look at the top 0.1%, it's just going to lead to a lot of negative emotions. So I think it's going to slow you down if you spend too much time comparing yourself to people that are ahead of you on social media, because it's just not a fair fight. There's so many other people that are at your level and even below your level. But if you just spend too much time on social media, you'll start to think that you are below them, because obviously social media, they push the people that are successful and knows how to make content, which are typically people that are a bit ahead in life. For the next one, I have getting into the wrong relationship. And as an extension, you could say marry the wrong person, get kids with the wrong person. This is absolute regret at 35. If you get together with a girl, let's say at age 19, you decide to marry quickly at age 22, you buy a house together, you get kids together, and she turns out to be a massive headache and a devil, really. That she wants to divorce you and she wants to keep the kids away from you. And maybe you're not the best communicator, and maybe she is. So she ends up getting custody over the kids, and you hate your life now. You're contemplating suicide because you don't see your kids anymore. And she's just telling them that we don't like your dad. They should stay away from them. Now, I just painted a very extreme picture for you, but I'm just saying that this can go very wrong. And if it really does, then that's a problem. That will make you regret your life. I've always been fearing this myself. I've had a bunch of situationships in my 20s, but like my first proper real relationship where I was like, this is most likely the girl I'm gonna marry, I got that at age 28. And to be honest, like, I'm still reflecting a lot over our relationships. So when we have an argument, I'm thinking, how's that gonna be with kids around? Is this going to be explosive, violent? Is this actually going to be peaceful? Like, how will we manage when there are different factors in a life that's not just the two of us? So this is definitely something to contemplate. And if you're working on yourself, if you're watching this channel, you're most likely into self-improvement. I will say that I'd recommend leaning towards getting into a relationship later in your 20s, like kind of similar to what I've done, or maybe even later, if you're really building yourself up, because you have more time and energy to put into your own mission, your own self-improvement, your own hobbies, and what you enjoy. And you can really figure that out a lot. But that being said, though, you will also learn things from a relationship. There's a lot of things I had to learn from ground zero because I never really had a true relationship. So there's pros and cons to this, but just be careful of taking these big leaps and big decisions with the person you're in a relationship with, because that is not easily so reversible. For the last one, I have video games, but specifically I want to say too many video games. And if it was just video games, I would definitely put it here. But there's a caveat to where I would want to put this. I'm going to put this into Barely Matters. But honestly, like, it could actually also go into here. It could also be here. For most people, I think it barely matters. And I think a lot of people on the internet will tell you that video games are the devil. You should quit video games. Even I myself had a streak in my life in my mid-20s where I didn't play any video games, or at least very rarely when I met with a couple of buddies and we were just playing for a couple of hours. That was it. The way I do it today is a little different. I'd say my general recommendation is just pick one day a week and play video games guilt-free, and not more than that. It becomes a problem when you play video games for more than 1 hour a day, in my opinion. The only games I play today are the Pokemon games I record for this channel, and occasionally I go to a friend's house and we play Ratchet and Clank together. If I start playing more than either just that one day a week where I play a bunch, if I start playing like multiple hours a day, I find my work less fun. There's a lot of things that just goes down in my life. So I think either I'd recommend you pick a day a week and you just indulge as much as you want, but then you don't touch that video game for the rest of the week. Or you can do like a more holistic approach. I'd say if you can stick to less than 1 hour video games a day, then feel free to do it. But a lot of you won't be able to do that. A lot of you get really into the game and suddenly time will pass. That's what I feel. That's what happens to me anyway. And I've been working on this discipline stuff for a long time. So I'd say if you can play for like 18 minutes a day and be happy with that, go for it, man. Just play every day. But yeah, I know for most people they can't. Which is why I'm gonna say that it does matter, but not as much as people they will tell you on the internet. Unless you play like a goblin, then it's gonna be on the level of Doomscrolling, and it's gonna move slowly up the ladder. If you play 8 hours a day, then it could also be regret at 35. That's the caveat here. So if you're being honest with the level you play, like for me, I play Pokemon because I need to record for this channel. So I'd say for me it barely matters, but this is one that can move up and down depending on how much you play. And that's it, that's the list. As I mentioned, if you want to get some clarity on this kind of thing one-on-one, there's a link in the description to book a clarity session with me and get aligned on your next steps. And if that's not where you're at, that's also completely fine. Yeah, first of all, leave a like rating if you enjoyed this video and leave a comment with some thoughts you had about this tier list, about some stuff you're working on. I always love reading the comments and I'm very active in them, so I'd love for us to get a conversation going there. That being said, it was really fun for me to make another tier list video. I hope to see you around on the channel again.